Hey, this is Steve with Priority Bicycles, and today we're going to go over how to fix a flat on your Priority Start 20-inch freewheel.
The tools you'll need for this job are a standard bicycle floor pump, a rag, a 4mm Allen key, a 5mm Allen key, a tire lever, a 15mm open-ended wrench, and a tube to replace your current busted one.
So the first thing we're going to want to do to get started with our flat fix is to disengage the rear brake and to disengage the shifter unit from the axle itself. So to disengage our rear brake, all we want to do is squeeze both of these arms together and pull the noodle out of the cage here. Sometimes you just press that guy down and it'll free right up. Once you have your rear brake disengaged, the next thing we're going to want to do is to disengage the shifter unit from the axle itself. So we just grab our 5mm Allen key and insert it into the black bolt on the rear of the shifter unit itself. Give it about a half a turn or a full turn and it'll pop right off your axle and slide right off. You'll notice that there's a pin inside the axle. Just pull that guy out and put it in a safe place so you don't lose it. So once your shifter unit is disengaged, you're ready to flip the bike over and start working on that flat. Just flip that guy over and place it gently on the ground so that you don't scratch up your seat or grips. Grab your 15mm open-ended wrench and start loosening the axle bolts on your axle. Just turn those guys counterclockwise until they free up. Give it a couple turns. Don't take that bolt all the way off the axle though. It'll just make it easier to reinstall a bit later. Do that for the opposite side. And then from there we can start letting some tension off the belt. So to do that, you're just going to need to grab your 4mm Allen key and start loosening the tension bolts on the dropouts right here. Just give those a few turns. And again, you don't need to pull the bolt all the way out of the bicycle. Just needs to be loose enough so that you can pull the wheel off. Do that on both sides. Give that wheel a good tap. You'll notice that the belt slackens up a bit. You can just pull that guy completely off the chainring and then off the cog in the back. You can pull your wheel straight out of the dropouts. So from there we can start on the tire. Undo the valve cap, grab your tire lever and insert it into the tire directly the opposite of where the valve sits. This will be the easiest spot to lift the tire off the rim. Once you pry it off a little bit, you just move this lever all the way around the rim to free up the tire on one side completely. Once that guy's free, you just reach in there and grab the tube, pull it completely out of the tire, and put it to the side for now. Once that tube's out of there, pull the tire off, grab your rag, and run your rag through the entire inside of the tire itself. This will help you find anything that's stuck in the rubber of the tire, and it won't cut your hand if you do it with a rag. So once you find that the tire is all free from any debris, toss that rag to the side and start installing your tire right back onto the rim. If you're unsure about what direction your tire is supposed to sit, there's a small arrow and writing that says direction on the side of the tire that'll point towards the front of the bicycle. Once the tire is seated around the rim with one lip and the other half just hanging off there, we can start reinserting the tube. The easiest way to do it is to put some air into the tube first. So just grab your pump, lock the pump head down and give it about one pump until it turns into a circle. That'll make it a lot easier to get it into the tire. So we just want to pry this guy back, insert the valve of the tube in the valve hole of the rim, press it all the way in there, and lift your tire all the way around the tube and start feeding the tube into the tire. Once your tube is fully inside the tire, you just want to rock it a little bit to make sure that the tube is sitting in the rim, and then you can start pressing the second lip of the tire into the rim. Just gently press it in until it's about halfway around. And then push this valve up so that it gets inside the tire, push it back down so it sits inside the rim. Then just press the rest of that tire inside the rim. And we can start putting some more air into the tire. So you just throw that pump head around the valve again, lock it down. And for these guys, you want about 45, 50 PSI. Once there's about 50 PSI in there, we can just lift this lever down and pull the pump head off. Then we're ready to reinstall the wheel back onto the bicycle. Thread that valve cap back onto the wheel. Head to the back of the bike where the belt is and loosely wrap the belt around the cog on the wheel. Push the axle into the dropouts, making sure that the yellow no-turn washer goes straight into the horizontal part of the dropouts and sits evenly. Then wrap this belt around the front chainring. Make sure that it's seated around it entirely and not snagged up on anything. And we can start adding tension to our belt again. So from here, you grab your 4mm Allen key and start adding some tension to the belt by turning these guys clockwise. Do the exact same on the other side. And keep going until you get the right tension. You're gonna want about 50 Hertz on your belt using the Gates belt tension app. Just make sure this guy's even and centered in the frame. Once your belt is tight enough and your wheel is centered in the frame, we can grab our 15mm open-ended wrench and start tightening down our axle bolts. So just start tightening these guys down clockwise. Get them in there pretty tight, and we're ready to flip the bike back over. Once we have the bike flipped back over, we can grab our push rod for our axle shifter and reinsert it right back into the axle. Grab your 5mm Allen key, push the shifter unit onto the axle so it's almost flush, and then tighten that bolt behind the shifter unit right back down. From there, we can start engaging the rear brake again, and all you want to do is squeeze those arms back together and position the cage right around the noodle. Then slip that cover right back over, and you're all set. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@prioritybicycles.com.